Hello, thanks for joining us on another episode of Agenda 2030. On today's episode, we will once again give you insight into the impact of the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, popularly known as the SDGs in Nigeria. I am Toyin Nkamiang John. Stay with us.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the Global Development Agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
And to be on track, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Log on to www.facebook.com/Fresh News NG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
As Nigeria marked democracy and the third anniversary of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the President has once again reiterated his strong commitment to the development of human capacity for sustainable development of the country. In today's episode, we'll bring you the excerpts from the broadcast by the President in commemoration of the all-important National Day when we return. But first, we will be taking a report on the federal government's effort on immunization of children against diseases. In demonstration of its commitment to the attainment of Goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the federal government has pledged to champion the campaign for routine immunization for all children and women of childbearing age to prevent deaths by ensuring the active participation of civil servants across the country in primary healthcare delivery. Head of Service of the Federation made this pledge at a meeting put together by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency to mark this year's African Vaccination Week in Abuja. She opined that this will help revitalize primary healthcare delivery in every local government area in the country and also puts the issue of preventable deaths to rest. We have the report.
Data from the United Nations Children's Education Fund, UNICEF, states that every single day in Nigeria, 2,300 under 5 years old and 145 women of childbearing age die from mostly preventable diseases. This makes the country the second largest contributor to the under 5 and maternal mortality rates in the world. The World Health Organization has also raised the alarm in its report on the number of deaths from preventable diseases in Nigeria, which it says calls for strong collaboration from all, especially civil servants, to be advocates of vaccination in their communities.
So this lack of awareness is what we are trying to deal with by trying to engage all stakeholders, and in this instance, why we're here today, the civil servants, to be champions in their communities, to raise awareness, because they are from those communities, they are respected, they are a driving force, and they are influential. So we trust that with the involvement of the civil servants, we can break down that major reason for lack of vaccination to ensure that communities are well sensitized and actually take up the vaccine.
It is in light of these alarming figures, the federal government, through the Minister of Health, Isaac Adewale, is taking steps to reduce child and maternal death by closing the existing gaps in routine immunization. The minister also highlighted the huge danger that lies ahead if immunization of children is not given the needed attention.
The first thing is that we are not doing well with immunization. When you look across the country, only 1 out of 4 of our children has received the full dosage of the package, and that is unfortunate.
Speaking on the need to incorporate civil servants into the primary healthcare system, Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faisal Shoaib, said large number have indicated interest to take charge of the course in their communities.
Immunization and primary healthcare is beyond the Federal Ministry of Health. It will require interministerial, intersectoral collaboration to ensure that we are successful. Everybody going back to their community and ensuring that every woman and child is vaccinated.
The theme for this year's African Vaccination Week is Vaccines Work, Be an Immunization Champion.
I am Guillaume Delalande from the OECD. You're watching Agenda 2030.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
In his national broadcast and the public lecture to mark the Democracy Day in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari restated his commitment to continue to deliver on policies and programs which are key components of the Sustainable Development Goals. His positions were corroborated by other speakers at the Democracy Day lecture. Let's take a look.
This administration came at a time that Nigerians needed change. The change we promised and the change we continue to deliver. We have faced a lot of challenges on this journey, and Nigerians have stood by us in achieving the 3 cardinal points of this administration, namely security, corruption, and the economy. The commemoration of this year's Democracy Day is a celebration of freedom, a salute to the resilience and determination of Nigerians, and a recommitment by the government to keep its promise to lead Nigeria into a new era of justice and prosperity.
Saluting the resilience and determination of Nigerians and restating government's commitment to the provision of public safety and security, President Muhammadu Buhari underlined Goal 3 of the Global Goals for Sustainable Development by highlighting government's effort in resettling IDPs in their home communities.
Public safety and security remains the primary duty of this government. Before this administration came into being 3 years ago, Boko Haram held large areas of land spanning several local governments in the northeast. Today, the capacity of the insurgents has been degraded, leading to the re-establishment of authority of government and the release of captives, including happily 106 Chibok and 104 deputy girls and over 16,000 other persons held by Boko Haram. In order to minimize the impact of the insurgency on internally displaced persons, government has established secure IDP camps and has improved the mechanism for the distribution of basic aid, foods, and essential commodities using various strategies in collaboration with local and international organizations. Efforts are in process for resettlement of IDPs in their home communities by providing schools, hospitals, clinics, water, and sanitation to facilitate a quick return to economic activities. Government is similarly implementing de-radicalization and rehabilitation programs to facilitate sustainable peace and development.
Still giving further relevance to the SDGs in his speech, President Muhammadu Buhari highlighted his administration's effort in achieving Goal 8 of the Global Goals for Sustainable Development.
The broad strategic objectives of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan were to restore and sustain economic growth, build a globally competitive economy, and invest in our people. The implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan has started yielding results. The National Bureau of Statistics reports that the economy grew by 1.95% in the first quarter 2018, which is a good performance when viewed against minus 0.91% in first quarter 2017 and minus 0.67% in first quarter 2016 respectively. Our foreign reserve has improved significantly to $47.5 billion United States dollars as of May 2018, as against $29.6 billion United States dollars in 2015. The inflationary rate has consistently declined every month since January 2017. Recently, government conducted focus labs in 3 key sectors of the economy, namely agriculture and transport, manufacturing and processing, as well as power and gas.
The president also reiterated government's commitment to the country's social investment program and projects, which clearly in the SDGs Goal 1 moves to end poverty in Nigeria.
The social investment programs has been created as a means to graduating our students from poverty through capacity building, investment, and direct support. The major strategic objective is to restore livelihood, economic opportunities, and sustenance for the poor across the country. The social investment programs and projects include homegrown school feeding program. About 8.2 million pupils are currently being fed from 24 states of the Federation, with over 75,000 catering staff engaged under the program. Empower Job Creation Scheme is targeted at providing jobs for unemployed youth graduates and has so far recruited 200,000 youth, while the next batch of 300,000 have been selected, verified, and will soon be deployed across the 36 states and the FCT. Furthermore, 20,000 non-graduate volunteers have also been selected to kick off the N-Build program in collaboration with the National Automotive Design and Development Council and the Council of Registered Builders of Nigeria.
Emphasizing his administration's achievements in the area of affordable and clean energy, which is Goal 7 of the Global Goals for Sustainable Development, President Muhammadu Buhari recounted reports of Nigerians on better power supply and less use of power generation plants, popularly called generators.
In the area of power generation, Nigerians from all parts of the country continue to report better power supply and less use of generators. This underscores the effectiveness of the methodical plan to deliver incremental and uninterrupted power supply to our homes, markets, offices, and factories. The country achieved 5,222.3 megawatts, representing the highest peak of power generated onto the national grid and delivered to customers in December 2017. With new facilities, repairs and rehabilitation by government and private investors, generation capability now exceed 7,500 megawatts. This administration is committed to lawful interventions to ensure the operators of the distribution business live up to expectations, especially in the areas of distribution capacity, service delivery, collection efficiency, and metering to eliminate contentious estimated billing.
Before summing up his 2018 Democracy Day speech, President Muhammadu Buhari shed some light on his administration's move in achieving Goal 4 of the Global Goals for Sustainable Development. President Muhammadu Buhari, while restating his administration's effort in achieving this goal, said government had continued to support the implementation of various initiatives aimed at improving the quality of basic education delivery.
Education sector, especially at tertiary level, has continued to witness expansion in order to improve access to higher education by millions of youth in Nigeria. Over the last 3 years, government has approved the establishment of 1 new federal polytechnic, granted licenses for the establishment of 4 state and 14 private-owned universities, as well as 12 private polytechnics. Government has also continued to support the implementation of various initiatives aimed at improving the quality of basic education delivery. Thus, it has ensured proper funding at the basic education level with the disbursement of 42.2 billion naira universal basic education matching grant to 26 states and the Federal Capital Territory. 851.5 million naira special education grant disbursed to 23 states and private providers of special education, and 2.2 billion naira Teachers Professional Development Fund to 33 states and the Federal Capital Territory.
Thanks for staying with us. As we move into the audience participatory segment, remember you stand a chance to participate and win special prizes just by answering our weekly questions. You can also send in your questions and suggestions to the producer via the email address and phone number on your screen. As usual, we'll kick off the segment by first bringing to you views from our respondents on the streets.
The federal government presently are doing absolutely very well when it comes to sustainable development goals, and the food program that is going on now in the part of the federation, I think, is commendable. I saw the vice president last time sitting with the children, eating with them, which is outstanding. And when you look at the Empower, for the first time in this country, we are having a credible, sustainable employment where you don't need to know anybody and you'll be employed. Well, I think that is wonderful. It takes quite a lot of the youth from the streets and it gives them employment. So I will commend the federal government when it comes to that. I think that is really amazing. And there is this agri empowerment program again going on by the federal government, which is commendable too, where you get a loan, you start a small medium program, which is outstanding. You can see the vice president. There's what they call the small medium clinic, where the vice president is going about the federation doing now, which is outstanding too. So when you look at all these coming together, I think they are doing very, very well.
Of course, yeah, trade and the agricultural parts. You know, nowadays, most of the people that are rich in these countries are farmers.
Government, they are trying in terms of empowerment. At least some of our youth, they are empowering them. At least I know some, and some they are, you know. In fact, I'm talking to you, there's some close to me that government empower. With that alone, I'm happy for that. At least the load relieve. I'm relieved with that load, because paying 30,000 every month with the iPad given to them, at least that one go a long way for them. 30,000 every month is not an easy thing, so it's good. Which is in fact I love that. For that government, I have to say good kudos to them.
The present administration have tried in the area of agriculture, because I can say in the last festive season till now, one can afford homegrown rice, which I think is even far better than the foreign rice that we used to consume. So then also, there's a lot more to do in that aspect.
A lot of people are beginning to think inside the box, especially now that rice importation has been banned. A lot of people are going to rice farming, fish farming. Hitherto, the prices of egg keep going up every day, chicken on every day. But now you realize that with 1,000, you can get a chicken in the market to buy. So for the economic aspect of it, I've also realized too that school fees is not even hyping up, like before, because everybody is beginning to look downward. And a lot of children, parents who had their kids abroad are bringing them backward because there's no money any longer in the system where they steal and pay high rate for their children abroad. Then, for the educational system, when you have a decayed rat, a dead rat that has been dead and decayed, to revive it, it will take the grace of God, The more he's putting in efforts, the more people are devising mechanism of pulling it down. And one man cannot stand and change the system. It's together that will change the system.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Welcome back. Last week, we asked, the issue of health and well-being are addressed in which of the goals of the SDGs? The answer is Goal 4. For our question for the week, anti-corruption is a component of the SDGs, true or false? Send your answers to the number and email on your screen, and do endeavor to include your name and your phone numbers in your response.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Remember, you can also watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. And that's our package. Thank you very much for being part of the program. I am Tony Nkamiang John. We will see you again next week. Until then, bye.